planet was wild and full of danger. Sharp rocks covered the ground and dark forests spread as far as the eye could see. The air was thick and heavy, making every breath hard. This was a place where only the strongest could live, and the hunters thought they ruled this land. They were a tough group of people who lived by hunting and fighting. They had no fear and no mercy. They believed nothing could stop them. They called their home the Hunt, because life here was always a fight to survive. Eleanor was the queen of these hunters. She was tall and strong, with eyes that looked sharp and cold. She wore simple clothes made from animal skins, but her voice was powerful. Everyone listened to her because she was smart and brave. She knew the land better than anyone else, and always planned her moves carefully. She was the leader because she never lost a fight and never gave up. Caleb and Aaron were two of Eleanor's best warriors. They were quick, strong, and deadly with their weapons. Both men had lived on the planet all their lives and knew every corner of the land. They followed Eleanor without question and helped keep order among the hunters. Together, they made a team that no one wanted to fight. The hunters had just won a big fight against a group of wild beasts. They stood on the high rocks, looking down at the animals they had killed. Their faces were full of pride. They shouted and cheered, believing they were the kings of this dangerous world. They thought no one could ever challenge them. Eleanor watched the hunters and felt a strange feeling inside. She was proud of her people, but she also felt something else worry. There had been rumors of strangers coming from far away. Some hunters whispered about humans from another world, but no one really believed it. Eleanor thought it was just a story to scare children. One night, Eleanor stood outside her shelter. The wind blew cold, and the stars shone bright above. She looked up at the sky and thought about what was coming. Deep inside, she knew things were about to change. But she pushed the feeling away and told herself to stay strong. Caleb and Aaron sat near the fire, sharpening their knives. They talked about the next hunt and how they would catch more animals to feed the hunters. Their voices were low and serious. They did not like to waste time on rumors or fear. To them, the hunt was all that mattered. Suddenly, there was a noise in the forest. The hunters stopped talking and listened. The sound grew louder, a strange noise they had never heard before. Eleanor stood up quickly and grabbed her spear. Caleb and Aaron did the same. Out of the darkness, lights appeared. Bright lights that moved fast and made a loud sound. The hunters stared in shock. No one had ever seen anything like this on their planet. A group of people appeared from the strange lights. They looked like humans, but wore different clothes and carried strange tools that glowed. They moved with purpose and confidence. They were not afraid of the hunters or the wild land. Eleanor stepped forward. She raised her spear and shouted for the hunters to get ready. Caleb and Aaron stood by her side, ready to fight. The hunters believed they were the strongest on this planet, but these newcomers seemed different. They were calm but strong and ready for battle. The hunters prepared to attack. They thought this would be an easy fight and another victory for their queen. But the new humans did not run or hide. They stood their ground and waited. Eleanor felt a cold feeling run through her, and the hunters had ruled this planet for many years. No one had ever challenged them like this before. The strange humans were not just visitors, they were a new force. The night air was filled with tension. Both groups stared at each other, waiting for the first move. The hunt had begun, but this time, the hunters might not be the rulers. The strange humans moved carefully, but without fear. Their leader, a man named Lucas, looked calm and serious. He held a small device that made a soft blue light. His eyes scanned the hunters and the wild land around them. Next to him was Mia, a woman with sharp eyes and quick hands. She watched the hunters closely, ready for anything. Both Lucas and Mia had trained for this kind of fight. They were not just lost travelers. They were soldiers from a far place, sent to explore and protect. The hunters waited for a sign to attack, but the new humans did not show any fear. Eleanor whispered to Caleb and Aaron. She told them to stay calm and watch carefully. The newcomers were strange and strong, but the hunters had fought hard before. They believed they could take these people down. Caleb made the first move. He charged forward with his spear raised. Aaron followed behind him, holding a heavy club. The other hunters moved quickly, surrounding the strange humans. They thought it would be an easy kill, but Lucas and Mia were ready. Lucas pressed a button on his device, and a bright light flashed. The hunters stopped suddenly, covering their eyes. The light was painful, like staring at the sun. Caleb dropped his spear and covered his face. Mia moved fast. She threw a small ball that exploded with a loud noise. The hunters jumped back, surprised by the strange weapons. This was not a fight like before. The new humans had power the hunters had never seen. Eleanor shouted for her people to regroup. She moved closer to the strange humans. Her voice was strong and clear. She told them to leave and not make trouble. But Lucas shook his head. He said they only wanted to explore and learn. Eleanor did not trust him. She knew the hunters could not lose control of their land. She raised her spear again, ready to fight. Caleb and Aaron stood with her, their faces serious. The two groups faced each other under the cold stars. Both were ready to fight for their lives and for control of the land.
Ow.
The hunters had strength and skill. The newcomers had strange weapons in strange ways. The fight began with fast moves and loud sounds. Spears clashed against metal. Shouts filled the air. The hunters were strong, but the newcomers used their technology to keep distance. Lucas and Mia worked together, covering each other and striking quickly. Caleb swung his club and hit a strange shield that appeared before Mia. The shield glowed and stopped the blow. Aaron rushed at Lucas, but Lucas fired a small beam that forced Aaron to step back. The hunters had never seen such power. The fight went on for hours. Neither side gave up. The hunters learned that the newcomers were not weak. They fought with skill and courage. The newcomers learned the land was dangerous, and the hunters were fierce. Eleanor saw the strength of the newcomers and felt fear for the first time in many years. She knew that if she lost this fight, the hunters would lose everything. She called her people to gather and prepare for a bigger battle. Lucas and Mia found a place to rest for the night. They knew the fight was only beginning. They talked about their mission and how to survive in this strange land. They were determined to prove that humans from their world could live and win here. The hunters also prepared. Caleb and Aaron hunted for food and made new weapons from the sharp stones. Eleanor planned her next move. She would not let the newcomers take her land without a fight. The night was quiet now, but the tension stayed in the air. Two groups of humans, both strong and brave, waited for the next battle. Each believed they were the true rulers of the planet. No one knew what the morning would bring. But one thing was clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. The sun rose slowly over the harsh land. Both groups were awake and ready. Eleanor gathered her hunters. Her face was hard and full of anger. She told them this was their home, and they must fight with everything they had. There was no room for mistakes. Caleb and Aaron stood near Eleanor. They looked serious. They knew the newcomers were strong. They'd seen their weapons and their skill. But they also knew the hunters had the land on their side. They knew every path, every tree, and every rock. That was their greatest strength. Lucas and Mia worked together to make a plan. They could not fight the hunters head-on. The hunters knew the land too well. Instead, they would use speed and surprise. They would strike fast and then disappear into the wild. The hunters moved quietly through the forest. They used the trees to hide and waited for their chance to attack. Eleanor watched carefully, knowing that one wrong move could cost them everything. Suddenly, Caleb spotted movement near the river. He signaled to Aaron and the others. They moved closer and saw the newcomers setting up a small camp. It was quiet and clean, with strange machines they did not understand. Eleanor smiled. This was their chance. She sent Caleb and Aaron with a small group to attack the camp. The rest of the hunters would block the path to stop anyone from escaping. The hunters moved fast. Caleb led the charge, running through the trees with his spear ready. Aaron followed, his club heavy in his hands. The newcomers were surprised when the hunters appeared. They quickly grabbed their weapons and fought back. The fight was loud and fierce. Spears and clubs hit metal and strange shields. The newcomers fired small beams that burned the air. The hunters shouted and pushed forward, refusing to lose ground. Lucas and Mia fought side by side. Mia used her quick hands to throw small bombs that made loud noises and bright lights. Lucas used his strength to block attacks and protect Mia. They worked like a team, covering each other with trust. Caleb swung his spear hard, but Lucas caught it with his bare hands. The force was strong, but Lucas did not lose grip. Aaron hit a shield and fell back. The hunters were not used to this kind of fight. It was like nothing they had faced before. Eleanor watched from the edge of the fight. She saw her warriors struggle but not give up. She knew the newcomers were strong, but she also knew the hunters would never run. They fought for their land and their lives. The battle lasted for a long time. Both sides took losses. The newcomers used their strange weapons well, but the hunters knew the land better. They used the trees, the rocks, and the shadows to hide and attack. At one point, Mia was caught in a trap made by Aaron. She struggled, but quickly used a small tool to cut the ropes. She smiled at Aaron and nodded. Even in battle, respect was growing between enemies. As the sun set, both groups pulled back. The hunters had stopped the newcomers from taking the camp, but the fight was not over. Eleanor gathered her people again. Her voice was strong and clear. She told them to rest for a short time. They would need all their strength for the next day. Lucas and Mia sat by a small fire. They looked tired, but determined. They knew they had to find a new way to win. They talked quietly about what they learned from the fight. The hunters were brave and clever. The newcomers had to be smart if they wanted to survive. Both groups knew this was more than a simple fight. It was a battle for who would rule the planet. The hunters thought they were the kings of the land. The newcomers knew they had the power to change everything. That night, under the stars, two groups of humans prepared for what was coming next. They were different in many ways, but both were strong and brave. Neither would give up. The planet was full of danger, but it was also full of hope. Hope that one day one group would win the hunt and rule the wild land forever. Eleanor could feel the weight of the fight on her shoulders. She stood at the edge of a high cliff, looking down at the land she had ruled for years. Her heart was full of pride, but also worry. The newcomers were stronger than she thought. If she lost, everything would fall apart. She knew what she had to do. Eleanor decided to face their leader Lucas, alone. It was time for a battle that would decide who ruled the hunt. She called Caleb and Aaron to her side. She told them to hold the line and protect the hunters while she faced Lucas. Caleb nodded. He trusted Eleanor's strength and skill. Aaron sharpened his club and prepared for the fight ahead. The hunters gathered around, ready to defend their queen and their land. Lucas and Mia were preparing too. They knew Eleanor was dangerous. Lucas wanted to meet her in battle, not just fight her people. He believed a one-on-one fight would end this war. The two leaders met in an open area under the burning sun. The air was hot and still. Around them, the hunters and the newcomers waited quietly. Both sides knew this fight was the most important. Eleanor stood tall and steady. Her eyes locked on Lucas. She held a sharp spear, ready to strike. Lucas had a strong shield and a light sword that glowed with power. The battle began quickly. Eleanor moved with speed and force. She attacked with her spear, trying to catch Lucas off guard. Lucas blocked and dodged. He used his sword to cut near her, but Eleanor was fast. They fought hard. Each strike was powerful. Eleanor's strength surprised Lucas. He had never faced a fighter like her. Lucas's skill with the sword kept him safe, but Eleanor's determination pushed him back. Nearby, Caleb and Aaron fought their own battles. Caleb faced a group of hunters who had lost their way and wanted to take the newcomers' tools. Aaron fought a skilled fighter with a long spear. Mia watched the fight between Eleanor and Lucas. She saw the queen's power and the leader's skill. She knew this fight would change everything. Eleanor made a strong move. She threw her spear with great force. Lucas raised his shield just in time. The spear hit with a loud sound, but Lucas held strong. Then Lucas moved fast, swung his sword and hit Eleanor's arm. Eleanor felt pain but did not stop. She smiled and charged again. The two fought closer now, each trying to find a weakness. Finally, Eleanor found her chance. She grabbed Lucas's sword hand and twisted it. Lucas dropped the sword. Eleanor pointed her spear at his chest. The crowd around them was silent. Eleanor looked into Lucas's eyes. She saw respect and a silent promise. She lowered her spear. Lucas took a deep breath and nodded, stood slowly, and reached out his hand. Eleanor took it. The fight was over. The hunters and the newcomers looked at each other. For the first time, there was silence. No one moved. Eleanor spoke. She said the fighting must end. They could not destroy their home or themselves. She told Lucas that they could work together. Lucas agreed. He said the newcomers wanted to live in peace and help the hunters. Mia stepped forward and nodded. Caleb and Aaron lowered their weapons. The hunters began to trust the newcomers more. The battle had shown them strength, but it had also shown respect. The leaders joined their groups. They started to plan how to share the land and live as one. There was still much to do, but the hardest fight was done. Eleanor and Lucas stood side by side. The queen and the leader now worked together. They knew their people needed them to be strong and wise. The planet was still wild and dangerous, but a new future had begun. A future where humans could live and hunt together, not as enemies, but as one. The sun rose again over the wild land, but this time, it looked different. The hunters and the newcomers were no longer enemies. They worked side by side, learning from each other and building a new way of life. The fight was over, but the true challenge had just begun. Eleanor and Lucas stood together, watching as people cleared the land and built shelters. They had made a promise to lead their people with strength and wisdom. Both knew it would take time for the hunters and the newcomers to trust one another fully. Caleb and Aaron walked through the village, speaking with the hunters. They told stories of the battles they had fought and the lessons they had learned. Many hunters had been proud to fight, but now they saw that strength alone was not enough. Mia helped the newcomers teach the hunters how to use new tools and ways to protect themselves. The hunters were quick learners, but they still kept their hunting skills sharp. Both groups respected the land and its dangers. Eleanor called a meeting of all the leaders. She spoke about the future. She said that this land was big and wild, and could hold many people if they worked together. She said they must watch out for dangers and help each other grow stronger. Lucas agreed and spoke about the newcomers' mission. They had come to explore, but now they wanted to protect this land and the people who lived here. He said that together they could be the strongest force the planet had ever seen. The people listened and nodded. The past battles were hard and full of pain, but now they had a chance to build a new home. Some hunters still missed the old ways, the constant fight and the thrill of the hunt. But they also saw that this new way could bring safety and peace. One day, a group of hunters found a large cave filled with strange, glowing crystals. The newcomers studied the crystals and found they could be used for energy and light. This discovery gave everyone hope. They could use this power to build better homes and protect the land. Caleb and Aaron led groups to explore more of the planet. They found rivers full of fish and forests with new animals to hunt. The newcomers helped them map the land and find safe places to live. Both groups shared their knowledge and skills. Eleanor and Lucas worked closely every day. They planned how to keep peace and grow their new home. Sometimes they disagreed, but they always found a way to solve problems. Their respect for each other grew stronger with time. Mia became a teacher and a guide. She helped both hunters and newcomers learn new skills. Her calm and strong nature made her a trusted voice for everyone. She believed that humans could survive anything if they stood together. As the months passed, the hunters and newcomers became one people. They built a village that was both strong and peaceful. They hunted together, shared food, and protected each other from dangers. Eleanor looked at the new world they had made. It was not perfect, but it was real. She knew the fight had changed her people. They had learned that true power was not just strength, but working together. Lucas stood beside her and smiled. He said they had made history. The hunters who once thought they ruled alone, now ruled together with the newcomers. They had created something new and stronger than any one group. The wild land was still full of danger, but it was also full of life and hope. The hunt was no longer just about fighting. It was about living, growing, and protecting what they had built. The humans had arrived, not just to survive, but to rule with heart and strength. They were no longer just hunters, they were a family. This was only the beginning.